This is About That Business, hosted by Rom Wills, author, speaker, and entrepreneur. Sit back and enjoy.
Greetings, fam. I'm going to continue my discussion of the financial house. This is part 2 of the discussion I began with the last video. Now, I want to discuss the financial house of the rich. Now, we have to divide this into 2 parts because as Mr. Golden in his book, Ebony Treasure Map, the Roadmap to Riches for African Americans, he divided the house of the rich into 2 parts. And, the first part he calls in the beginning. And, you see the thumbnail up here of that, right? Now, check it out. You look at the house again, you got the job that's bringing in the income, right? Notice the arrows are they still going to the wealth reducing liability window. And from there, there's an arrow going to the outgo window. And then you have, from the income window, some going directly to the outgo window. And of course, it goes out. Now, here's the interesting thing. Here's the difference. You have several arrows going to the IPA window, which is the income producing asset window, right? Now, look, let's get that straight. Now, what's an income producing asset, right? That's anything that brings money into your financial house without you having to work for that money. It's something that's going to make money regardless. Basically passive income, right? And he gives several examples of it in his book, which I agree with. That could be a real estate investment. Like if you own a building, that's why one thing I've said, if I'm going to get a property, if I'm going to actually pay a mortgage on a property, it's going to have to make some money for me. If it's a house, I'm going to rent it out. If it's a 4-unit building, I'm going to rent it out. If it's a multi-unit building, I'm going to rent it out. But that's bringing in a lot of money. That's bringing in a lot of money. All you have to do is pay somebody to keep it up. Right. He also mentioned a parking lot, laundromat. Man, it sounds like a drug dealer. One thing he mentioned that's close to me is writing a book. One thing people don't realize how much of a royalties I make just on my books. Once I publish them, especially my ebooks, that makes money. I don't have to do anything. All I do is count the money, especially with the ebooks. And it's kind of different. That book, if you can write a book, if you're knowledgeable about something, and you can get it published, especially with something like Amazon, that's a royalty. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is keep your name out there enough. That's the hardest work you got to do so people look for the book. And honestly, if it's great information, once it's out there, people will come find it. That's what happened with my book, Nice Guys and Players. I didn't really put any money into advertising. And it's kept selling. Even when I wasn't actively doing the business, I was still making money off of the book. And it's anything you get royalties from. And one thing he talked about licensing, which is a pretty good idea, right? He said, I'll read what he said about Bill Gates. He said the richest man in the world became wealthy through licensing. Bill Gates bought the DOS operating system back when the personal computer craze was launched. He bought it for $50,000, and then instead of selling it, he licensed it to IBM. Then he actually acquired the graphics user interface from Apple, who acquired it from Xerox and licensed it. This created Microsoft Windows. Every time he sells that program or somebody sells a computer with that program in it, he's making a buck. And see, it's licensing. I know a lot about business. Licensing, when I get time, I really need to get into it because I know the general concept. You basically give someone a license to use your product. Like George Lucas, he became a billionaire by licensing all of his products. His Star Wars, he became a billionaire for one movie, really. He did other stuff, but he became a billionaire because he licensed the products. That's where they make the money off of toys, comic books, whatever. Like if somebody wanted to license Nice Guys and Players, they say, I got an idea for a book series on this. And I actually got some licensing ideas. Like Amazon Like if you write like some type of fantasy world or some interesting book where it has a nice little self-contained universe, you can license out the concepts with what they call Amazon worlds, and you can write off somebody else's concept. It's just like somebody writing Star Wars novels. Those was licensed. So that's a powerful thing, but that's another video. Getting back to the income producing window, that's how the newly rich start out. They get that money, and yeah, they got the other stuff going on, but they buy an income producing asset, something that's going to make them some money. You know, I mean, nowadays you could talk about an online school, something, anything that's going to make you some money. It's an asset that you own. I mean, real estate is a basic one because people are always going to need a place to live. Like personally, just because my grandmother had owned property when I was growing up, I'm not big on it because you really, there's a lot of stuff you need in there, but the reward is worth it if you're willing to do the work. You know, get a like management company, make sure you have maybe an attorney or somebody on standby if you got to kick out a tenant or something. But once you get through all that, it brings in money for you. And I've known several people, they'll get them property or, you know, write books, whatever, anything that can bring you some money, bring you a royalty, anything. That's the asset. That's the income producing asset. Now that's the financial house of the rich in the beginning, right? In the beginning. Now at this point, we're fading in the financial house of the rich over time. Now look at what we have here. Okay, got the job or whatever they bringing in the money, right? The income doesn't go to the wealth reducing liability window or the outgo window. The income goes to the income producing asset window. And then notice what happens here. Now in the income producing assets, you got real estate stocks, car wash parking lot licenses, royalties, network marketing, whatever. Notice what's happening here. The money there then goes back to the income window. Think about it. If you bringing in an income at all and you putting that into the income producing assets, that goes back to the income window. And then from the income producing assets, that's how you pay that's how you send them to the other windows. You know, that's how you pay for that mortgage, cars, boats and stuff. And then this is different because you got money to pay for it. And then to the outgo for, you know, that regular stuff you still got to pay regardless. You know, different expenses for the children, taxes, utilities. But look at how you paying for it. You're not paying for it with income from, in fact, the job part could actually be taken out of there. Because at that point, you probably don't need a job unless you just want to work. And actually, that's what a lot of people do. That's what a lot of rich folks see. People don't tend to understand how people really make their money. See, that job, you get a lot of professionals, like you get an attorney, a doctor, and they'll make big money, right? They the ones who will buy the assets and stuff, and then they get to the point they can start buying other things. That's how it works. They get those high-paying jobs, but here's the thing. You can do it making relatively low money. You don't need a lot of money to do it if you're willing to save your money and invest it. Because here's an example. Say you got a job, I'm gonna say $30,000. You know, just enough to live on. Just enough to live on. You know, keep some bills paid. But if you can put a little bit away and maybe work on one of these, working on getting some type of income producing asset, you can double that money. You know, you can use a savings, put that money away, and then say, okay, I'm gonna put a down payment on this 4-unit building, or this house right here, and rent it out. You know, all of a sudden, even though you making 30, you can buy a lot of property. You know, and I've talked about my grandmother a lot on the other channel. She didn't make that much. She had several properties, but if you look at how much money she actually made and brought in, she didn't make that much. But she focused on income producing assets, which was mainly real estate. And, even at one point, she had a commercial real estate space where she was charging money to a tax business. So, that thing is, and the key to that is, is money management. If you get that money and, instead of running out getting that BMW or getting that big screen TV, you focus on getting an income producing asset. Shoot, that pays off over time. Like I know a lot of guys. I know some guys, they flip houses. That's how they doing it. They get those houses either through foreclosure or at a really low price, fix it up, and they sell it. And sometimes they'll sell it or they'll rent it. But it produces assets. It produces money for them. They do a combination of both. So that's the financial house of the rich. Now, I wanted to share that because it's a very simple concept. Study it. It's easy. And that's one of the things they really need to. They don't really teach people how to really make money. They teach people how to be good workers. They don't teach them how to make money. And I wanted to share that with you. Now, get the rest of the book too. Click that link. Show that brother some love. He made it very easy. It's not a big, thick book with a bunch of theory and all of that. He tells you. That brother who wrote that book today, he started out as a garbage man. A garbage man making $6-something an hour. Look where he's at. So it's like no excuses. People use all these excuses. Well, I need this money. I need the light. No, you don't. You need to manage what you have. So that's how it works. So you know what? More than ever, let's go out there and get that money.